Yeah. Yeah.
What's up, Warriors? Welcome back. That was, I think we have a record for fastest transition there.
I can't believe I'm still here.
I know. I'm so happy you stuck around.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to be here too. So
I know, it's just funny, like swapping PowerPoints in the background, but didn't want that to be awkward or anything. So let's talk about testing grounds now.
Yes.
So
Instant stagger AoE burst and it's done. That'd be interesting.
Yes. So
that's not a bad idea, actually.
We're gonna be testing some changes regarding like anti-ganking. So
okay.
First of all, I want to make sure that it's clear for everyone what a gank is, because it might not be super obvious. It's a question I see asked really often, like if I go browse Reddit,
especially you casuals.
Nuts. I go look at it, and then people go, "So what's a gank? What is
no
that?"
insult intended.
So a gank
just pay attention.
Basically, we can define it as it's a coordinated attempt by 2 or more players to deal a lot of unescapable damage on a single opponent, right? So basically, it could be like you and me tag teaming and going, I'm going to do something on Brian so that he gets hit or something happens, forces a reaction. You hit him back, and then while he's still stuck in a hit stun or whatever is happening there, I can hit him back, and we keep going back and forth until he's basically dead, right? And so we don't like Brian to be dead. So we're trying to do things where we can adjust this a little bit. So it's a bit tricky.
Brian's okay.
And it's so I wanted to make sure that that's super clear. So then let's talk about what the Hitstun rules are in general in For Honor to give a nice context to what's happening, right? So normally in For Honor, when you're hit,
Hitstun rules. I was afraid of this.
What we call a first Hitstun state, right? So I have
they're talking
Warden,
about it. Sorry.
I hit you. You go into what's called the Hitstun state. While you are in that Hitstun state, that applies to everybody, by the way, not just you, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So while you're in that state, any damage you take from players other than me is going to get reduced by 25%. Right. If I do combo hits like with a Rochi or with Warden or whatever, you still take the full damage from me. That's great. But from any other source, it's reduced by 25%.
Gotcha.
In addition to this, if you are hit by another source while you are in that state, you enter what we call the second Hitstun state. And while you're in that second Hitstun, you take 75% less damage from everyone, including me, even though I initiated the first attack.
Yeah.
And you also gain uninterruptible and can't be pinned, right?
This is also off of counter guard
It's a
breaks.
combination of defensive abilities that players call super armor. We're in a state where you're borderline invulnerable, right? You take a lot less damage. You can't get pinned. None of these things happen. Nothing even flinches you, right? You just stand still. Every time you get hit, there's that white flash that appears on you to kind of signify that the kind of armor is on. And what's important to know as well is that while you're in this state, and while you're in any state really, damage buffs and debuffs, so damage reduction there and stuff.
This is the way it currently is. This is not new.
So
he's just explaining it still.
Even if you take 75% less damage, you still take full revenge for these attacks.
Yeah.
So if you're going to take an attack that deals 100 and you're in that state, you're going to take 25 damage, but you're going to gain 100 revenge. Right? So that's kind of like that's the gist of it. That's how it works.
Do we need to play it again?
However, there's a tiny bit of an issue in that there's something that players call a Hitstun reset.
Ad break, sorry.
The problem is that attacks that pin can pin an opponent that is in first Hitstun, and that keeps the opponent in first Hitstun. They do not go back into a second Hitstun. They don't get the damage reduction in the vast majority of cases. And so that ends up creating a lot of these situations where I'm able to hit you with something. Like, let's say I'm a Warden, right? And then Brian's there, because Brian's sitting there. So I'm hitting you with an attack, and then Brian hits you with, I don't know, like Zhanhu's front dodge bash, right?
Yeah.
That is a move that pins. So because of this, he hits you with that move. You get pinned. You play a little special animation, but you stay in first Hitstun. And on top of that, you don't gain the damage reduction. So I get another free hit on you. And then things can kind of devolve from there in a lot of crazy situations.
Gotcha.
So what we're aiming to do with this change, with this testing grounds, is fixing this so that any moves that pin now properly apply second Hitstun, the damage reduction from any other source, when it hits in first Hitstun. If you hit in the first Hitstun, if you do the normal stuff, it doesn't really change. But if you hit somebody in a situation where normally you would be put in second Hitstun, the pinning moves also will put you in second Hitstun. There's a couple other things that are in there that are like inconsequential, but that kind of play a little bit in this. So the important part here is we're normalizing these reactions to make sure that you are able to gain your defense. And so while you're in that second Hitstun state, you gain, like I said, you gain full revenge. You take a lot less damage. You tend to be able to dodge earlier, block earlier. You can parry. You can do a lot of different things while you're in those states. So it makes it a lot easier to avoid those ganks and to defend against them.
Gotcha.
Now, the important part here is that this applies while you are in that Hitstun state. But when you exit that Hitstun, you are kind of vulnerable for 100 MS every single time. Because when you switch your guard to block, then that takes 100 MS, right? So if you take an attack that's in a different stance that you wouldn't be able to block, or an unblockable or a bash or whatever, you still can't defend against it. So that means that there's still a little bit of a window, and after you get hit by any of these attacks that kind of cause that Hitstun, where you still can't evade. And that is kind of on purpose, and we wanted to keep that in so that you can still gank. It's not full anti-gank, it can't ever happen again. It's, if you want to gank people, you have to be a lot more coordinated. You have
very
to be
precise,
really precise
timing.
Hit at very, very specific timings. So this gives a lot more opportunities for those ganks to fail. It's a little bit like if you're playing like a fighting game and you drop a combo. This is kind of like what ends up happening, right?
Gotcha.
It's dropping those combinations of attacks so that he got out of my gank, he got out of this or that situation. So you still do need to kind of like be able to dodge and react and do stuff, but like those ganking scenarios can still happen. They're much more difficult to do, and so we're addressing the main issue. So we want to make them a lot harder to pull off.
100 milliseconds is 3 frames.
So as we go, then we have a few heroes that this is applying to. We are also using a new tech, which is kind of cool, because when you go into those testing grounds, you can only pick the heroes listed here. So Warden, Conqueror. I'm blanking on his great Shugoki. Yeah, that's me apparently, so that's good. Yorm, Hito, Shinobi, JJ, Zhanhu, Pirate, and Ocelotl. I think I got that right.
Brian.
And so
say Ocelotl.
Right, that's it. I don't know. So these heroes specifically these are the only heroes we've applied this to for now. When this does go live, if it goes live, it's going to be applied to the entire cast. Don't worry about it. But right now, because this is a lot of work, because we have to go into every single one of their moves that pin and add data to them to make sure that it respects those rules. We wanted to make sure that we could try it out on a variety of heroes that have a variety of different things that can happen. So these are the heroes that is applying to. Warden, notably, doesn't have any moves that pin.
Right.
But we wanted to keep it because pretty much everybody has Warden. So if you want to play in the testing grounds, you can still play with Warden.
Use your baseline.
Yeah, and you can still participate in ganks, right? He has like those big unblockables and stuff, so it still kind of works. So as we go here, so here's the effective move. So Warden has no moves that are affected by this whatsoever. Great. Conqueror has their charging shield crush, which is their running attack. That one pins and unbalances, so we want to cover that base as well. See kind of like what the situation
that can chain with hammer slam.
We have Zhanhu with palm strike.
And dodge cancel into that.
Zhanhu with Dushi's choke and mighty kick, like the mighty kick we were talking about earlier. We also have Hitokiri for ray kick and ray sweep, so the kick and the sweep and chain
bash and sweep.
Parrot with pistol blast and walk the plank. Pistol blast specifically had like another interaction on top of it that we fixed with this, so that's great. That could cause infinites. If you didn't know, like right now, even like when Pirate launched, you could have 2 pirates going heavy into gunshot, into heavy gunshot, constantly doing that.
I remember this.
Right? So remember that?
Yeah.
So in this instance, this is completely fixed. What we had done before, it was kind of hot fixed it to give it a lot more revenge. So to kind of disable that combo, because if you did it too often, you would feel way too much revenge. In this case, the issue is fixed entirely, and you just cannot like chain lock somebody in that situation. We also have Shugoki with Demon's Embrace, Headbutt, and Dodge Headbutts, and Demon Ball. What's interesting too about Demon's Embrace here is that
this is interesting.
You can still Demon's Embrace somebody in first Hitstun, and you're still gonna get the full animation. In all of these cases, if you do manage to pin somebody that's in their first Hitstun, it's still gonna play the special animation. It still plays all that sort of stuff, but the opponent is going to be in second Hitstun the whole time. They're gonna have that armor and uninterruptible and sort of stuff. So you want to refrain from hitting them, because they're not going to flinch, but they're going to gain a ton of revenge.
So Shugoki gank
for Demon's Embrace, and for other moves that kind of end up like this, where you grab and you really end up pitting your opponent, there's something a little bit different, where if you hit them out, they're going to still be hit out of it, but they should be in second Hitstun after they get hit out. So it kind of all evens out there.
Templar, what's up? I see you.
We also have Jormungandr, so quite a list on Jorm, right? So heavy finishers, Jotun Farewell, Jotun Gift, Venomous Sting, Jotun Grudge, Hammer Slam, all cool things. So Jorm was a hero that has a lot of pitting moves.
Right.
So this is like a nice case of like a bunch of stuff that gets affected.
Yeah,
We
Jorm.
also have Ocelotl again with Skull
Powerful
Smash,
ganks
Ferocious
with that.
Fang, Hunter Stance. And then
Unblockable
finally, our boy Shinobi with
Also a lot of
Reaper's Dance, Flip Kick, Spectral Kick, Teleport, Ghouls Embrace, and Sickle Rain, all that sort of stuff.
Nice.
So what's super interesting with this is if this ends up working out well, which we're really hoping it does, we've done a lot of testing internally. It seemed to have like a good impact on ganking, especially at levels where people are not like extra coordinated. What's cool is that it should let us readjust some of the like nerves that we've done in the past, right?
Yeah.
So I mentioned Pirate, for example, where her gunshot now feeds an astounding amount of revenge, while it doesn't deal a lot of damage. Because normally, if you're hitting somebody, you're feeding revenge equal to the damage the attack deals.
Right.
But in some cases, we had to crank it up to like 30 or like even higher in the case of Sickle Rain,
Mostly for like bashes
because
and
it
pins.
created like those really crazy
Proper
easy
pins.
ganks. So if this ends up working out, we can go back and retroactively look at some of these things to go, well, this does not need that much revenge gain because it's not used as effectively in ganks anymore. So there's a lot of this that lets us open up balancing and lets us go on a case-by-case basis and go, well, does this actually need to feed more revenge or not? And re-get to the point where we were before. So you're not disadvantaged, like not disadvantaged, but you don't have that feeling of, I don't want to throw this attack because I feed way too much revenge. So there's a lot of that stuff going on. There's like combo attacks that could come back because of this, because they don't really reset Hitstun anymore.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to look forward to with this. So I hope players play quite a bit. I know it's complicated.
Yeah.
I know I've been talking for God knows how long now, but it's a complex thing.
Yeah.
It's a super interesting task that we've been trying
Can't
to
say
do
he doesn't have
to
lungs.
get ganking into a situation where it's very, very, very skill based. And not just, hey, I'm just going to mash stuff and it's going to land, it's going to feel good. So we really wanted to push towards this to get into a good situation where it's skillful. You have ways to escape ganks when they're not done perfectly. There's ways to do all that sort of stuff. But we're really trying to push that skill gap and focus on the timing and how you do things and what attacks you use and all those little situations to get into a good spot where it feels good, it's rewarding, you don't get super frustrated, because if in these cases, when you get ganked, it's clear that, okay, well, the other players were really, really good, and they didn't just mash because they managed to gank me perfectly.
Yeah.
And I had potentially a chance to escape. So there's a lot of that thing going on that we're really trying to push towards, where like we're pushing skill-based gameplay, and not just, well, mash and you're going to be good to go.
Yeah.
I like the mindset.
But that's it for the testing grounds. It's a lot of stuff, right?
It's quite a bit. Yeah, it's quite a bit.
I like the
and,
mindset.
and you know, honestly, thank you. You know, I mean, for those of you following along at home too, I think you know, really what you've done is you've kind of opened up the hood. You let us see a lot of the engine at work here. You know, like how things like Hitstun rules and like damage reduction, a lot of things that, you know, again, are part of our core gameplay,
Yeah.
but you know, just it's part of that design that, you know, maybe not everybody is
I
fully
see it back.
understanding or privy to, because it's fairly complex.
Yeah,
topic,
it
you know,
is
so,
pretty complex,
yeah.
and for me at least as a designer, right, I love sharing that with people, and I know it kind of, I hope at least that people kind of see it, but it's something that's super interesting for us to be able to peer under the hood, right? Before I became a designer years ago, you're always kind of like, oh, how does this work? How does that work? You know, and you kind of get into that mode of, well, I want to be a designer, I want to do this, I want to do that, and it's kind of hard to get that insight. So I think it's super cool that we're able to do this as well, right? Not everybody has a chance to be able to do this, to communicate with players and to give them an insight of how do things work and be able to show, well, this is how we're trying to fix it. This is
I think we should do more.
And
of
we
that.
might not always hit the mark perfectly.
Yeah.
I'm sure, like guaranteed, there's going to be things that are going to come up from the testing grounds that will not
Oh,
be
absolutely.
perfect. It's okay. And it's okay to tell us, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, that doesn't work. That's great. That's what we want to hear.
Right.
Because ultimately, if the goal is what you'd like to see as a player, but there's things that maybe there's edge cases that we haven't noticed because we're all human. Right?
Oh, I
We always say
already
this, but
foresee
always
some.
human. If there's things that we haven't really
It'll be
noticed,
interesting.
tell us. Let us know.
Yeah.
If you like the concept as a whole, but there's issues in a couple places, tell us, I love this, but there's this, that it doesn't work. I don't think this should do this. I don't think that should do that. Give us all that feedback. We always go through it. Like, you've seen the reports from the survey and all that sort of stuff. I've seen them as well.
They're pretty hefty. Yeah.
We pour through them. We look at everything.
Yeah.
We're like, like usual, I'm always on Reddit, so that doesn't help. But I look at like a lot of different sources of feedback, but everything counts. And like I
Reddit.
said, even if you don't like something, tell us. If you like something, tell us. If it's like whatever, tell us. Just talk to us as much as possible. We're very lucky to be in a situation where we have that direct contact with players, right? It's indirect-ish, but still we're still able to see all these things. And for me, it's very important as a designer because that's how we grow, that's how we get better, and that's how we are able to keep this game alive. Like, we're in our 8th year.
Yeah.
You've seen the Vision video, right?
Yeah.
We have 35 million players, a lot of really cool stuff. We're keeping going. We're like, there's 2 new heroes this year, a bunch of hero skins, a bunch of stuff. This is all possible because our players are there. We're able to talk to them. We're able to communicate with them, and we're trying to do the best that we can towards to making sure the game is great and enjoyable by everybody. So I'm super psyched.
Awesome.
I can't wait to get more feedback on this. And
For democracy.
I'm gonna
Oh wait,
stop
wrong
talking
game.
now 'cause,
Totally.
probably people are gonna want to kill me.
No, it's fine. But yeah, thank you so much, JC. Super interesting. So, Testing Grounds will be live starting March 21st. We'll run through March 27th. So again, check it out. Again, mark this as on the VODs. Come back, rewatch it a couple times in a couple
Watch
of
it
weeks, so
again.
you really get a good primer on
watch
what
this
to be
again,
on the
y'all.
lookout for. But try it out. Give us your feedback. Fill out the surveys at the end of it. We absolutely appreciate it, and we read everything. So
They do. That's what he meant when he said Reddit.
Y'all. Okay, so that's it for this segment. JC, thank you so much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
I know some of y'all
Warriors,
were
stick
sucking air
around,
through your
'cause
teeth
we
as
are
soon as he
coming
said
back,
Reddit, but they read
in just a
everything.
minute, with our wrap up and outro for the show, so don't go anywhere.
Brian's not dead. It's okay.
Brian's fine. He's fine.
Time era? What do you mean? It's for
It's fine.
Helldivers too. What are you talking